3 pounds of clay. Let's see what we got going. It takes a lot of pressure to push that down and center it that fast, in case you guys are wondering, hey, what's that? How do you do that so fast? Just a lot of practice. So we're going to make our volcano, force any irregularities to the top, as you can see it. Okay, so what I can do, push that all the way up. I hate to waste clay, but here we go. Get that irregularity right out of there. And now we're going back down. Let it, make sure I didn't grab it. Okay, so I gotta recenter it. It'll be a little bit faster on the RPMs here. Here we go. And then we'll do another raise. If I put my thumb here, I'm making this angle because I don't want that going down like it's doing right now. I need it to come up. Okay. And then trying to get it to come up. There we go. You can't have any holes in there. It's starting to go. That's why if you put your thumb over the top and then this one on top, as you're compressing it to make it come into this kind of volcano shape. Now you can go back down again. We're basically getting the clay ready, kneading it right here on that. You just gotta do this. There's no other way I know of doing it. I need to get this irregularity out of here because it'll just keep my hand moving. It'll exaggerate it. And you can hear that clicking. Because the way this potter's wheel works, there's a cone down there, and when it sits on that cone and then makes a little knob. I don't have any problem. You hear it and you see the thing moving, and you're thinking, well, that noise has something to do with it, when it really doesn't. Okay, so just do a center here, make sure that I'm centered. What I'm doing now is that let's see, that's about 7 and 2, and I'm coming. You can see here is where the clay is. 7 and 2 compressed together, and then hold it as hard as you can. 1, 2, 3, push and hold, and then that, as long as you don't have any wiggle, you're centered. You can see if I were to put something here, you should not see anything moving. That's pretty centered right there. Okay, now I'm going to take my thumb. This part of my thumb is going to set on the center point, push it down, make an indentation. Now that I have my indentation, a little bit of water, make sure it's in there, I can go down and drill. I can go straight down and drill and not even look, because the wheel is going to make my finger go straight down. What's going to happen is it's going to suck all the water out, and now it's going to want to grip my finger. So I have to lift it up, let some water in there, go for another pull. Now it's hard. I'm not touching my hand, so I don't know how far down I'm at. That's why I do it this way. I'm touching my hand, and I can feel how far down based on where this hand is riding on the bat. You can kind of feel about how far down you are. Just a little bit so I can get that pin tool and my finger in there at the same time. Don't want to open too much because I really don't know how far down I am. I'm doing a little back and forth there just to make sure it's level. I can feel it in my hand. I'm not going up, not going down. Okay, now I can take my pin tool, shut the wheel off, hit the pin tool down to the bat, reach down there with my finger. It's the top of the clay, and then it's going to show me, whoa, pretty thick right there. See it? Almost like 3/4 of an inch or something. So I need to take that down a little bit more. So what I'll do, seal that hole up by going back and forth and compressing it, okay? And now I'm just going to go down a little bit and open it up. Sometimes you get the clay that jumps over, you got to get rid of that, okay? Because you don't want anything being thicker on one side than the other, because that winds up screwing everything up. Open it up just a little bit more. Now I'm doing another compression. These compressions are very important because you're going to get S-cracks if you don't do them. Don't go down too far. Always make sure, check how deep, how thick you are. Doesn't even look like it went down at all. That's what happens because you're going slow. The water. Now you can always fix that when you turn it over and do your footing if it's too thick, but if you leave it, it's going to crack because your bottom is thicker than your walls. Everything has to be kind of to a uniform standard. The thickness of the bottom, the thickness of the sides. Shouldn't have anywhere that's thicker and thinner. Okay, so we're looking a little bit better right there. I don't know if you can see the needle. That's about where we're at. Okay, bring this tool off. Okay, next up, we're going to compress that bottom since I poked a hole in it. We're going to seal it up now. Here we go, done. Do a little bit more compression. That's what we're doing again and again and again. Make that wall about as 90 degrees as you can get it. And then down here, I can start making my first pull. Though I can certainly feel that the clay is going to drag on me. So I need to drop it into my hand, let it roll onto the piece. I'm not going to do anything on the inside because it's fine. What I'm going to do is hold this up and basically just tilt forward like this. You don't need the wheel going that fast. If I keep going, I'm going to make this thinner than this. So I'm going to stop right there, do a little here, do a little on the inside, make sure that I grab that water that's sitting down there. You never want water on that bottom. Clay is like a sponge, it just keeps sucking water up. You might not see it, you might not think it, but it's doing it. And then when it dries, you get an S-crack and you're like, oh, my whole pot's ruined after I spent all that time. Yes. Doing the pull. Trying to make sure I'm going to the center of the opening and where my hand is. Otherwise, you're going to make a bowl. A little compression on this top. Double that back out. Tendency is always going to be going this way. That makes bowls. So, do the re-wetting. Do the drying. Do another pull. Slow the wheel down. So I got a foot pedal. Take my foot off it and it'll stay at the speed, and it's probably a good idea. Okay, press that down. See, it's flaring a little bit, so I'm going to use my 3-point. Close it up just a little bit. I can feel a bump here. There it is. That slurry sometimes gets in there. Using the back of my thumb to go at the bottom, so I can grab and try to pull. I'm going to use this tool here for a minute. I really want more. Sometimes you don't think of that foot going and that speed going. It just doesn't. You forget about it. All of a sudden you realize, hey, this wheel's going too fast. Pretty soon it might just go poof. Foot off there, how about that? It's a good speed right now to pull. So we'll do a little wetting again. dry. And do another pull. I felt like I dropped something in there. I don't know. Get down under there for that pull. A lot of times you won't have this even up here, so you're gonna have to trim it with a tool. If I get to a point, I'll show you what I'm talking about. But right now we're should be okay. But I flared, so I want to pull that back in. And what I'm using is the 3 points. 3 points. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And then as long as you're on those 3 points, it'll force it in. It'll also wrinkle if you go too much, so you always have to do other pulls. Because as you go in, this wall gets thicker. If I pull this all in, this wall's gonna get a lot thicker. Now, I think these walls are really thick. Okay, I'll stand up for this one. Can't touch my other finger or my other hand yet. There we go. Boy, I'm wobbling when I'm up here, aren't I? Woo! Release slow, don't release fast. Okay, come up in here, compress that a little bit so we don't have a problem. Feel the thickness, smooth it out. Okay. Now that you have the cylinder, you can decide what you're making. Not making a bowl. Bowls come from mistakes, in my opinion, or a lot of times my bowls come from mistakes because I lean back and then I make a bowl. I'm going to use the maybe we can do another pull, but I'm going to use the sponge this time. I'm going to sit because that standing, I'm too wobbly. Now what I want to do is take some of this slurry off of here. Dry this clay up a little bit. Try not to push too hard. I'm not looking to pull or anything. I'm just looking to get that slurry, that wet clay off of there, so that when I flare out, we're gonna be strong enough to hold the angles that we're gonna need. So we obviously have a problem with this flare, so let's pull it back in. It's too much, not enough water. Dragging, when it drags, if you feel any drag, get water on it because it can't have any drags. Okay. this point, I'm going to go down there, making sure I don't have any water here because I don't want water on the bottom. I'm going to rest on the bottom here and see where I'm pulling out. Stop right there. As I open this up, I'm making the walls thinner, because these were pretty thick walls to begin with. Another pull. Not right here, I think. Okay. Next up, because I felt that dragging, so I need to stop, make sure I have water. Okay. So where are we at with that top? But I don't know if we have an angle or not, or if it's up higher on one side or not. So I'm just gonna hold my finger here and compress it and see. No, I'm good. This pot's gonna get distorted anyway when I make the pour spout. Which, yeah, we're close to making that pour spout right now. This clay is just a little wet. It's good to throw with wet clay, but it's hard to work with it when you're trying to do anything spouts. This angle, if I made this, tried to go in here more, this whole top is going to want to drop. Unless I figure out a way to get the clay dry. Now that's why I throw on bat, so I could set this aside, let the clay dry up a little bit, and then come back and do stuff. Or what you can do a lot of times is get yourself a little torch that ignites by itself. I found this little torch on Amazon for some cake decorating thing. It's kind of really nice because you can turn it on, you got your flame, and you can kind of start drying it a little bit. Don't leave it in one spot, always move it. While it is wet, we're just going to be heating this water up, basically, is what we're doing. But we're getting the water, we're evaporating the water out there, we're making this whole thing a little bit stronger. I like to kind of come down here when I see that the water is dried on the bat. I know that I'm pretty much getting dry in the body area here. This is the angle I'm worried about right now. And this one, this angle down here, this could just sit down. That bat's starting to dry up, so I know I'm kind of getting to that point of at least getting enough moisture out of there to work with it better. Okay, so we'll shut that off. Those are great little tools, even for starting your fire in your fireplace. Now comes to the part I haven't done in quite a while. What I want to do is make sure that there's no water sitting on the bottom. Because after now I won't be able to really do this. I will need to make a handle. I'm just drying that bottom, any water on that bottom. Okay, now, if I remember correctly, I need to hold two positions here and then pull this clay up and over, That's good right there. It's up and over, because that lip right there is where the product, whether it's milk or lemonade or whatever you're doing, is going to split and not drip down this over here. And so as I look at it, I'm thinking, it just needs to be, I gotta hold it here. Kind of a fast motion. When it's leather hard, I could fix it a little bit more if I wanted to. I don't know. How do you guys like it there? I think it's okay. It's got some good aesthetics to it. Put the handle out over here so you can hold it and pour it. I think that looks pretty good. Okay? Stop right now. Grab the wire tool. It's the great thing about working on bats. And I'm not good enough to pull this thing off. Like, there's a lot of potters that can lift this up and move it, and not me. I just need to cut it, leave it, let it dry leather hard. I'm gonna pull it straight back to me, but I could wiggle it back and forth too if I wanted to, just a little bit to get it through. Sometimes it's hard to pull straight back, but if you kind of wiggle it as you're pulling back, it makes it a little bit easier. Okay. So at that point, I've got to figure out a handle for it. I guess what I could have done was just grab that here, fill that up, just crush that so that it makes a handle here. It's a little bit big of a piece for that. Maybe on a smaller piece that would work. In fact, I'm going to show you a gravy boat that I love. They're easy to make. This is hard to get off, but there we go. And so basically, that's kind of what you got. As far as, if I ruined it, I guess. There we go. You got your piece there. Put a handle on here. I mean, that's your top. Put your handle on here. And we got a nice little picture. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember, subscribe.